So today I'm here with Grace from Washington or Portland, Oregon. Whereabouts are you, Grace, in the
Yeah,
USA?
I'm in Seattle, Washington. So
Seattle, Washington. Beautiful. So Grace is going to share with us her experience of using the inquiry-based stress reduction technique process with business. So Grace, if you can tell us who you've used this process with and some of their experiences.
yeah. So I've got two very different places that I've used it in business. Um, I also have a certification as a mental health counselor. And so in that field, there are regulations, Department of Health, depending on where you are, who you are, what you're doing, that make it important to, be clear, like use a language that sounds like it's part of the mental health field, and often people know what the Work of Byron Katie is, who are in counseling and psychology, whenever they're familiar with that. But I did the work with the people that who were not necessarily counselors in training themselves, but it was for a hospice organization where they had all their volunteers come in who were working, people that do volunteer hospice work and visit the people. They're volunteer hospice counselors, and there's many, and they go through pretty extensive trainings to, like a whole weekend training to get their thumbs up to be a hospice counselor. And then they visit people all over the place, hospices and in their homes and wherever they are. So I got to work with that organization, some of the leaders and people that trained the volunteers, but then all the volunteers. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. It was in an organization called Group Health, which is a big hospital in Seattle. That it was a nonprofit, sort of innovative hospital for quite a few years in the Northwest, because people formed it themselves as 50 years ago or something. I hope I have that right. I don't know. I grew up with Group Health, is the thing, and people work for Group Health. They just changed, and they're now Kaiser.
Oh, so, wow. Okay.
Group Health had its day, but it's the same. Many of the physicians and everybody there are just transferred over, and now they work under the new umbrella. But that just happened recently. Anyway, so it was Group Health, and it was wonderful because it was done in an office conference room setting in the hospital, and really, I just came in with all the worksheets and tools that people needed and kind of explained them. But then I was basically asking all the people what kinds of thoughts they had when they went to visit folks that were on hospice.
Yeah.
And it was really, an amazing relief for these people who want so much to help and give. And some people are pretty comfortable, but some people weren't. It was new to them to visit people who were on hospice or who might die. So it was really profound, and the managers and the trainers and the people running it, and like the chaplain who actually are employed by Group Health, they all just loved it for having something to offer, there, even though that's kind of part of the training, but to have this to offer the people that are visiting, all the patients that are on hospice. So it's very sweet. It was really quite simple. And I bring that in, it's kind of I wasn't necessarily doing the work with people on management or departments or some of the sales. So it was a little bit closer to, where just inner peace around this work. But it had to fit with, the people that were running it and were training and were the employed, people of Group Health. Sort of had to endorse, of course, the experience.
And we've been having an interesting discussions on these interviews about the difference between the fine line about where we see workplace versus personal, and the fact that they really are one and the same, and yet we tend to look at them as workplace and personal, and it's not till we start to explore it that we realize it's life in general and there's no separation. So
it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my
So
other,
what was their feedback? What did they feel? What were their feedback? And did you find that they talked about using the tool themselves outside the
yeah,
training?
there was people that were so, I mean, you could tell they were like, oh, I mean, even though we were kind of like cutting right to the whole, like, you know, the person I'm taking care of is going to die, or their own thoughts about death and dying. I mean, we were, you know, you're really at the most kind of a deepest kind of inquiry you could possibly have.
Yeah.
But they were seeing, I mean, like, it's funny you should say, you know, here we are there. If you ever assume that's all that's going to be the work that's done is on the patients that they're visiting, death and dying. Oh no, that's not true. Somebody realizes, you know, oh, I'm not getting along with my adult son. You know, I remember there was one gentleman, not getting along. I want to do the work on this, you know, and
Yes.
I don't want to visit him either.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, you could see little light bulbs going off, you know, really quite sweet. So this is, I mean, I really did have it open. I think that's powerful too. It doesn't have to be on anything that I would assume, or we're not only doing it on it, just kind of open it first to what are you all thinking about your role in this organization?
Yeah.
You know, volunteer hospice counselor. But then, you know, what would you, I mean, just opening it easily to find a situation that you find difficult. Now, people were mostly going initially to, because that was the assignment, like invitation is to see if there's anything, you know, right in your role in this position that bothered you. But I mean, they quickly went out to other, you know, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, really good, really good. I mean, exciting. Yeah, very fun. Yeah. So I got to have that experience. It's funny, like even speaking to that right now, it's reminding me that people said, we'll have to have you back. Now, I haven't followed up. Nobody has said, can you come back? But I feel like it probably wouldn't take much to say, would you like it again? And, you know, I mean, people have asked or mentioned, sometimes organizations like hospitals actually have or mental health related organizations of any kind have CEUs that people have to earn.
Yep.
Social workers. So somebody has asked me from a healthcare organization here for their social workers that work in hospital care and management to come. And that's fortunate for me because since I have this certified counselor, I can also give people CEUs. Yeah. So helpful, you know, good for them to get their credits.
Yes.
Now, the other place that I got to do the work in a work setting was also just being invited, so not necessarily seeking it out myself. And it was a woman who owns a hair salon or series of hair salons. So she has all the people that work and cut hair. And she just called me up and said, I want to have you into the salon off working hours, you know, a day when it's closed, and have the people here who cut hair. And then it was even plus more. There was, I don't know if everybody there worked for her, but it was, the interesting thing is that being set up in a way where she's the person paying for the event. You know, she's enlisting everybody to come and inviting them and scheduling it. And oh, they were lovely. Everybody brought food, and there was like a meal, and we're all sitting in the hair seat, you know, those nice comfortable.
Yeah.
I got cool. A nice seat with my, you know, where you get your hair cut. And it was great. And of course, that was not necessarily to address, once again, sometimes in a group, you might be invited in to address an important problem, you know, or there's a blind spot of some kind, or things, you know, or something's not working. This, I mean, for me, maybe it's an easy way into it, an easy invitation for me, because it was just like, she just wanted to introduce the work to all her people. Right. And So people were doing the work on anything. They were all over the place. Their husband and their child and their house and their, everything. So that was really sweet. Lots of great questions. Some people who had read it, some people who were brand new.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a very super fun. Yeah, probably one other, I've been asked, I periodically get invited to come do the work with a group where one person's organizing, a collection of people, like a team of people or a group of people. And that does happen in people's homes sometimes. We'll just say, come in as one person, maybe, I'm buying this, I want to share it with everybody, and they set up like a little half-day kind of program. But so these are my experiences, and it's what's interesting is I'm about to step into doing a little more with organizations in the area, because I do love, what I've noticed is we were talking about the difference between feeling like a personal growth sort of modality when you go off and you go on retreat and you're kind of away from your daily life, your home and your family, whatever, and you're working on yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's lovely and everything, but as a practice, a way of life, the work, you begin to want to, it's not all about just sort of what's going on in here. You're getting clear about what's going on inside of you, but you're making contact with the outside world and serving more, just being out there, and not without that idea that you need to fix something about yourself all the time,
Yeah.
which is very predominant kind of in the culture. I don't know. So it does feel like, with groups and people and just meeting with those who might be interested in, it's getting to be more popular, it seems like, mindfulness and relaxation in the workplace or in office settings.
Yep.
And, that ultimately the work isn't really about just peace inside. It's about the
whole way of interacting and communicating and being in this world. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned about the retreats and going away, because here in Australia, a lot of our leadership development programs are just that. They will take them away out of the workplace for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, over a year period. And my own experience of that is, it's like you go out into a bubble, you might do work on yourself, but it's then hard to actually bring that back into the everyday environment often.
Yeah.
And so, I like this idea of it being a tool that we can use right there in our everyday. We don't need to be outside in a special place to feel that we're able to use it as a tool. So agree. Also that can kind of have this funny, because nobody ever feels like they're done or they're cooked or like, you know what, I've done so much personal growth work, I am totally perfect now, and I'll just, I really don't need anything. That people always feel like I could always do a little more, and so we kind of can relax that whole thing. Nothing wrong with learning and understanding yourself, but to bring it in all your imperfections into daily life. It's really, and it's so liberating. It is. Being okay with not being okay.
Right.
Whatever form that is, and not being okay. Right now I don't feel okay. I'm really angry at this customer, or I hate my boss. Well, and it's okay to be that way. It's okay to have that, and then be able to go and explore it rather than the judgment that it's not okay. Yeah.
I used to feel as an employee, I would just have, long ago, like my first jobs, I would always have this back door, like, by the way, the back door's open, I can leave anytime. And, if I dislike it enough, off I go. And also a sense of, there's a lot of ideas about work itself, like that I noticed I had, I have to go to work. There is no choice. I'm a victim of the way. Who set this up?
Yeah.
I have to go out and work over there. I don't want to work,
Yeah.
It was like really kind of, fight the man or whatever, whatever they say. So I definitely had that attitude, and when I had that attitude, you kind of keep a front on of just doing exactly what the boss says.
Yep.
Because that's what you're supposed to do when you go to work. Well, no wonder you feel so much like a slave to.
Yeah.
And I love how this is, if it's okay to be imperfect, or you don't like, you didn't really want to come to work today. How fantastic to, be able to be with that and then question your thoughts.
Yeah.
Or, oh my gosh, probably if I had a workplace that had the work available that was happening somehow in the environment, that organization would have become really interesting.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting for me because the last 2 years that I spent in my corporate role before I stepped out to do this full time, I did just that. I spent 2 years questioning every thought that I had in that space, because for me, my workplaces had always been the same pattern. I go into a workplace, same sort of things would show up. 2 years down the track, I'd have had enough, and usually I'd have had enough before that, but I made myself stay because I needed to have a job. And then then I would leave, and then I would go somewhere else, and guess what? The same things would show up.
Yeah.
And so in this particular workplace, it's when not long after I found the work, I went, cool, now I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it in my daily life here at work. And so I started to question all of those things that came up, and got to the end of that just over 2 year period, interestingly. But I actually said to the workplace, thank you, and I don't need to work here anymore. I really appreciate what you've given me. I appreciate what I've learned, and it's not the right place for me anymore. And I felt really happy to leave it without there was no malice, no unhappiness, no grudges, no the normal icky feelings that you have often when you leave a workplace and you're unhappy. And so that's been really, really great. Yeah.
So great. It's like being able to leave and have it be a clean, sort of like divorce, people, or breaking up. You can actually do it, and it's just out of joy. It's it's the right time, and it's completed, and I need to go here now or whatever. I don't know. It's creative and not a failure.
No, that's right. Didn't feel like a failure, and it didn't feel like I was doing the wrong thing and I shouldn't have been doing it, or in any of that sort of normal talk that was going on in my head wasn't there. Just felt like the next thing to just step out and go and do something different, and that's okay. So it was good.
I love it. I had the experience of being able to apply a lot of the work and my own thoughts, even though I wasn't running it in a group environment, when I was working part-time. So I worked part-time until 2013. So what is this? It's like 4 years only of just having my own private practice, but it was like, that was a lot longer. I thought I was just going to start working part-time and do it for like maybe 2 years or however, then my private practice. And I had all those thoughts, and it was 5 years. And I loved it at the end. It was hard. It was like, I'm sorry, I have to go. And there's a goodbye party. And I don't know, it was like really amazing people and a great organization. And it's the first experience I ever had of, I love my boss. I love my supervisor, she's really, I didn't even bother, I think in the past, to get to know them very well. I didn't let them know me. I didn't join the organization as somebody helpful because I had all those beliefs running.
Yeah, definitely.
So, so it's exciting. I'm excited for the blossoming. It seems like I'm just finding out about more and more people who are doing projects in organizations and businesses. And, maybe maybe I take off my yoga pants and I put on
Corporate gear, yep.
my old corporate go in there and but it's wonderful people. They're all the same. They're people,
Yeah.
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 And really, it's amazing. I mean, I can just tell reading, samples of stories and hearing a little bit, of course, it's like if people are kind of dynamically in self-inquiry right there. I love what you say, without like, maybe they can go on retreat to kind of learn all the tools or something. It's like emergency preparedness training, but then you're right there in the environment, practicing and doing the work. Pretty great to have a way to process and work and figure out your transformation of a stuck point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
fabulous. Yeah. Love that you're doing this. Great.
Well, thank you so much for your time today to share your experience with me. I really appreciate it, and we'll just get this message out there that here's this wonderful and a simple tool that workplaces can use to reduce the stress in their workplace.
Yeah. Reducing stress. Who knows what can happen with that company?
Absolutely. Amazing things.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's true.
Thank you so much, Grace.
You're welcome.